Thank you, Marina. And I will call the public hearing to order. And tonight's public hearing, the Andover Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on an application from Jacob Surdam to operate a home occupation landscaping business at the property known as 87 Merritt Valley Road, Andover, in accordance with section 4.12 of the Andover zoning regulations. So that is the purpose of the public hearing. Hello, Scott. I knew that Ann Cremay was not going to be able to make it tonight, nor was Susan England. I didn't hear anything from Leanne Hutchinson, but we've certainly got a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started.
I'm on here
Okay, I guess, okay, very good.
just now, yes.
Yep, okay, great. Thanks, Leanne. So first up, Jacob, it's your opportunity to run through your application with the commission here.
Okay. So I am applying for the special permit to continue operating the landscape hardscape business that I run and own. So the basically what we do is we store our equipment here in our trucks, and our main work is done off-site, you know, off of our property here on client sites. So what we do is we just store all of our equipment here. So our 3 trucks stay here and our 3 trailers. And there is obviously various hand tools and compactors and things like that that also stay here. Most of that stays inside the garage here. So everything is inside except for the trucks and trailers. All of the trucks and trailers.
When you say in the garage, is that in the garage, that's built into your home?
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, in the actual garage that is attached to the house. There is a storage shed on the top of the driveway, which I also use and I'm hoping to use as a salt storage shed. That is storing our snow equipment for the summer months. And then in the winter months, I'm hoping to be able to put salt in there. And that is contained with mafia blocks. So we built a mafia block area that's 2 blocks tall, and it has a shelter on top of it. And it also has a tarp on the bottom layer, so it doesn't mix salt with subsoil or anything like that, and it keeps it dry in there. So that is the plan with that, but it's also used for storage regardless of the fact of whether I have salt in there or not, which it doesn't hold salt in the summertime because I need it for storage. So all of the vehicles stay parked at the top of the driveway there, with the exception of one of the vehicles that I also use for my own personal use that stays down the bottom, and the rest of the parking at the bottom is for residential use. Or I also have a boat that occasionally is here, a boat trailer. Other than that, our business operation usually goes from 7:30 to 5:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Saturday. That's usually our operating hours there. Wintertime, we do snow removal, so it's a little bit different in the wintertime. Obviously, when the snow falls, we have to go out. So other than that, that's kind of our standard operating procedure. We just load the trucks up here, and we use this for obviously storage and getting everything going in the morning time, and then we're off to job sites. So most of the time I do have one employee that works for me. He most of the time will meet me at the job site with his own personal vehicle. On occasion, he will have a vehicle here, but when his vehicle is here, one of my vehicles is gone. So he parks in that spot when one of my vehicles is gone. So I think that's all I got.
Okay. Agent Halsey, did you have any comments on the application?
Yes, I did meet with the applicant and went over the detail of the driveway apron. Right now, there was an existing residential driveway apron that in place for probably at such time as the house was built. But the space that's being utilized for the business is a bit wider. And I spoke to Jay Tuttle, the Public Works foreman, because I anticipated that he'd have a concern about that equipment's moving from the applicant's property into the road. And was looking for an apron, the extension of the existing apron. I did speak to the applicant about storage. I was concerned about salt. I suggested that he detail how he would contain that salt, and he has just previously. Whether it's to the commission's liking, I don't know. I also did get a call from a gentleman across the street, Brian lives here, who had some concerns. He just was concerned about on-street parking, which I believe has been addressed. Led to believe it no longer is an issue. Brian didn't really have any concerns other than that. And just future growth. Should the business grow? He's concerned how it might impact his property. There's also a letter from neighbor to further down the road, Robin DeGemis, who owns the home next door to Jacob. And that letter is on the website. It's posted with the application. That was a written comment she had submitted. Brian's was a verbal that came into me. Just for information, I mean, this property is zoned industrial. Why, I'm not really sure, but nonetheless, it's probably been zoned industrial since the adoption of zoning. And there are specific provisions in the regulations to provide for home occupation on lots where a single-family residential is in existence. And this is the case here. The house was built probably in the 80s. That sound right, Jacob?
It was late 80s, early 90s. I believe it was 91. 90 or 91.
Okay, it was built at that time. Been there ever since. Grew a little bit, added on to. And that's all I really have.
Okay. I know on your checklist, Jim, you had something about a waiver for.
Yes, I did ask
something
the
that I
applicant
can't
for a
remember
waiver,
what
and
that was.
he did submit one. I had sent it for Marina to post if she was able to.
Okay,
Place it on the screen.
I did not see that posted in the online file today. Marina, did you get a chance to post that, or did I just miss it?
I don't post anything on the website. I don't know if it got over to Kate, but Jim did email it to me so I can share it on the screen.
Yep. I
Okay.
didn't,
Yep. If you
I
could do
think-
that would be good.
Jim, the waiver you said?
actually, there's a waiver and there is also a narrative.
Okay.
And let me explain how this happened. We transitioned from, this is my fault. We transitioned from doing paper applications for special permits online. And when the applicant is uploading material, it's not automatically, it has to then be moved. I mean, somebody has to direct it over. And that didn't happen. And I didn't realize that until until this evening, at which point I contacted the applicant and he resent these documents, at which point I sent them to Marina. So I never sent them to Kate for posting. I didn't have them for the reason just stated.
We
All right.
see the agenda, Marina, not the waiver.
Okay. Let me see if I can reshare. This one, Jim, or the other one?
I don't see anything on my screen.
Oh, there it is.
There's something. There's the waiver request.
You want this one or the other one?
Well, both documents, but this is the waiver here.
Okay.
This is merely requesting the waiver of the A2 boundary survey required in section 23. And there is an additional document that was provided by the applicant, background on the business, which I believe Marina has as well.
Yep. I'll pull that up.
Okay, I understand that. And
Is it showing?
yes.
Yes, very good. Yes. This seems to reiterate pretty much what Jake had offered earlier.
Okay, I got that, and I think everybody's probably had a chance to see that at this point. Thank you, Marina. And I guess while you're at it, I got so excited that I got the Zoom to work here that I didn't call up another search engine so that I can go to the website and put up the site plan. But if you could just show everybody the site plan that he's offering is a waiver. Is there anybody on the commission that did not see the site plan looking online? Okay, here in none, then we're good to go, Marina. Everybody had a chance to take a look at what he is offering there, and I think for the purposes of what we're doing, it probably fills the bill. So, so you can stop sharing now, Marina. Yeah, go back to the regular screen there. Thank you. At this point, do any of the commission members have any questions for the applicant?
I just wanted to talk about the salt, Jed.
Yep, go ahead.
I hear in, Hebron, they're having that huge problem with the public works facility over there. And, the neighbors are all worried about the salt leaching out of salt shed. I've heard of that happening in different places. It's happened to the state, a couple different places, and salt leaches once there's water in it, Just curious about that. If we have any kind of regs that they do and can't do. Bulk salt.
I certainly was not able to find anything. I shared your concern about storing the salt there. I also heard that I've heard a couple of different things about the Hebron salt shed, and the problem with storing the salt isn't what's causing the salt in the environment. It's putting all the salt out, around when they're spreading it. That doesn't mean I'm a fan of putting it in there, but I did go look for something that would do that. We did get the letter from
Starting?
Agent Wagner. And our wetlands agent, and he saw no problem with the application in that it was outside of the 100-foot upland review area. So that's what I know about our regulations with respect to the salt, Scott. I guess the other question along that line that I was thinking of was, Jacob, when you said that you were putting a tarp down underneath it, I have visions of the equipment that you're using to load the salt would be fairly easy to tear through that. And is it do you have measures that prevent you from ripping up the tarp, or is the tarp waterproof so that salt can't leach through it? I know a lot of tarps are water resistant, but they don't stop the leaching through. Now you got to cover over the shed so that maybe prevents water from getting in there. But I share Scott's concern about the salt getting into the environment.
Right. So what we normally do when we load is I don't ever dig down to the very bottom of my pile. I will always leave a small layer of salt that we drive over to get to. And then we,
You put something on it.
We already did that.
and
We know
then,
who the iPhone is that was coming in. Was that you, Leanne?
No,
Okay,
and then what we would do is shovel that stuff that is on the actual tarp to the bigger pile once we're done with the storm, so we can keep the pile contained in the same area, so we're not digging onto the actual tarp itself. I have thoughts of actually putting concrete in that area instead of using the tarps, because it is more of a pain in the butt for me to do that. If that would be more suffice of a solution than having a tarp down, I have no problem with prepping and pouring concrete inside that salt shed to make that more of a contained unit, if that will help with your guys' worries of it possibly leaching into the environment.
I think
It is like three or 400 feet away from your well, but isn't it, Jake?
Yes, it's on the
Yeah.
complete opposite side of the property.
Right, so, I'm not worried about that, but I would feel better if you did that. There's no regulations apparently for that, but it could very well happen.
I
Could
agree.
happen.
In fact, might even be you put a tarp down on top of the cement because cement doesn't like salt. And that would kind of give us even better protection, but that would be up to you. I do like the idea of putting the cement flooring in there, if you will, to kind of keep that from doing everything we can to protect the environment.
In the long run, Jake, it'd probably be easier for you anyways.
I would agree. It's definitely something I've toyed with anyways, with doing. So if that's something that will definitely, keep a little bit everybody at ease, I have no problem doing that.
It definitely wouldn't have to be much, only like a few inch reveal coming up from the floor of the basin, just enough to keep the, whatever water does splash in there from storms in. Did you say if the roof was tarp, or was it like a
It's
permanent structure roof?
Yeah, it's like a steel. Well, it is a tarp cover. It's almost like one of those carport garages that you put up.
Okay, I know what you're talking about, like metal frame type of deal.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Any other commission members have other questions for the applicant at this point?
Just for clarification, in the application, I thought it read that you were gonna park all the commercial vehicles and the trailers on the existing driveway next to the shed, is that correct?
Yes, except for one vehicle,
Right.
which is my personal vehicle, which I usually park down the bottom.
Right,
The
okay.
remaining ones will be at the top of the driveway, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure there was enough room there so you didn't need on-street parking.
Yes, no, once we got the complaint, we have not done any on-street parking since then, so we've kept everything within the boundaries of the
Mhm.
actual property.
Very good, thank you.
Any other
And Jed,
commission
we don't
members
need
have,
any,
say again, Scott?
we don't need any screening trees or anything. There's no complaints about that.
No. And any
Neighbors are all
screening,
good with it.
the neighbor to the right, to Jemis, supported the application.
Yeah.
And the gentleman across the road. Well, I can't say he supported it. He wasn't looking for any sort of screening. His primary concern was the on-street parking, which has largely been addressed. I mean, part of it was
Jim, is on these applications, is the screening a requirement or is it only if there's a complaint?
well, it's
Screening
not
is
complaint
a
driven
requirement.
requirement.
It's not.
And when we get into the deliberation, we'll go through the regulations. There's not many of them there. And I think it works out okay.
I
Any
mean,
other commission member comments? Yeah, I did have a couple for you, and when I looked your company up online, it says you're a Manchester company. I don't know. It looked to me like that was probably, you had a house in Manchester at the time. Is that how that came to be?
Yeah, I initially started the business in Manchester when I was still living at my mother's house. And then I moved and I haven't moved the business address, which is actually probably moving here in the next few months or month to Andover, because that house that I have listed as the business address is no longer going to be owned by a family member or somebody in the business family. So that address will be moving to Andover very, very shortly.
Okay, and so that's, I know your application talked about Andover getting the benefit of the taxes from your business. That'll be the key to making that happen, I guess.
Correct.
It also said online there that you had 5 employees.
Yeah, I put that on there because a lot of people don't want to hire somebody with 2 people. They think that you're not capable of doing the job. And honestly, a lot of my commercial clients want to have a minimum of 3 to 4 people on your crew to be able to service their properties. So that's why I put that on there, but I do only have 1 employee.
Okay, I know looking at your trucks and that, it's all great shape. Looking at your website, looks like you do a great job. Agent Halsey talked about the potential for growth. Do you see yourself getting bigger? And at what point would you no longer consider the home-based business appropriate?
I do see us growing a little bit. We've definitely grown for sure since I've started, no doubt. I want to say probably within the next 2 years, I will not be doing this out of my home anymore. If I had to put a number to it, I want to say 2 years. I do it at home now because I still have the capability and the room to do it without paying extra money for rent or owning my own building or owning something else down the line. But yes, I think one more truck or one more piece of equipment and it's going to be too much for me to do at my home occupation. So I want to say probably about 2 years or so, and I most likely won't be having this business here.
And do you have any other places that you're storing equipment now, or is everything stored at your house?
There was a couple things that I did keep in Manchester, small things, a couple lawnmowers and things like that, but nothing major, no.
Okay, yeah. So that was all the questions that I had. I'll go back and at this point are there any members of the public who would like to comment or ask questions of the applicant? Okay, I hear none. And so was the person who made was concerned about on-street parking? Is that the person with the 2 trucks alongside the road?
No, it is not.
Okay, that's a different person, huh? Okay, got it. So at this point, I guess my question for the commission is there anything that we can think of that we might want to have answered, or are we in a position to close the public hearing?
I have one question. We talked about the concrete base for the shed. What is the existing subsurface there? Is it asphalt or is it crushed stone? What is it?
The existing subsurface is processed gravel. So processed, and then we packed it in with our compactor, and then we put millings on top of that and packed that in to create an look-alike of asphalt, basically. And then we would apply the tarp on top of that because it's a hard soil or a hard subground to drive the machines on to load.
Okay, but it's basically a porous surface versus something like concrete.
Right. Right now, it is something that could possibly, yes, be porous. Yeah,
It could leach.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
And once again, I'll ask if there are any members of the public present that want to comment on the application. Hearing none and hearing, oh, I see a phone here. That looks like Leanne's number. Did you have a comment, Leanne?
No.
Okay. If there are no objections, then I will close the public hearing at 7:29. And at 7:29, I will call the regular planning and zoning meeting to order. And first up is roll call and seating of alternates. And I see Steve Nelson's present. Scott Person is present. Leanne Hutchinson's present. I'm present. The only member missing is Ann Cremay, and we'll seat Kevin Arneson in place of Ann. Not on the agenda, we missed it somehow, is additions or changes to the agenda. And so I had no additions or changes to the agenda, but if we need to change the agenda to add an item to change it, we can certainly entertain that thought. Does anybody have any additions or changes to the agenda that they would like to propose tonight? Hearing none, we'll leave the agenda as it is. Item 4 is public comment. Any members of the public that are here tonight that would like to comment on anything other than what is on the agenda?
This is Catherine Hutchinson, and I have comments about the gravel operation, which is under your old business tonight, and I respectfully request permission to be allowed to comment at that time.
You will be allowed to comment at that time. You bet.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is new business. And the first item under new business is the application of Jacob Surdam, 87 Merritt Valley Road. Applicant is seeking a special permit to operate a landscaping business as in accordance with section 4.12 of the Andover zoning regulations. Agent Halsey, is there any chance that you have a draft motion for us tonight?
I don't. I do have a number of conditions.
Okay.
I can put together one. Move to approve application of Jake Surdam, 87 Merritt Valley Road. For permit to operate a landscaping business.
So since you
With the
don't
following
have that,
conditions.
Yeah.
One is that
let's, Jim,
Apron.
what I'd like to do is I'll make the motion.
Sure.
We'll get a second and then we'll discuss it for conditions of approval, and we'll proceed from there. So at this point, I will make a motion to approve the application of Jacob Surdam, 87 Merritt Valley Road, for a special permit to operate a landscaping business in accordance with section 4.12 of the Andover zoning regulations.
I'll second that.
And
Okay, thank you, Scott. And now we'll have the discussion, which Jim, if you can want to lead off with what you have for conditions of approval.
One would be the construction of an apron along the road in accordance with town ordinance, town regulations. Yep. As an aside, that will require a permit on its own, really for the applicant. So the detail will be spelled out in that application. Second would be no storage of salt until salt containment is constructed in a manner consistent with what was represented or in a manner approved by staff.
Okay, and that would be the concrete floor?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Or we could just, I mean, you could say a impervious surface. But I think just give staff sign off on it. It would cover it, I would think. Third condition I would recommend would be no on-street parking.
okay. Any other conditions, Jim?
No.
Any other commission members have any other conditions that they would like to discuss?
No, I would just comment that the applicant should be aware of the regulations regarding signage as well.
I did speak to the applicant. He indicated he was not looking to install a sign. He's not, there's no drive-by traffic, you know, that it's more of a word of mouth, web-based advertising.
Great, thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
So we're in the discussion, in deliberation now. One of the things I did say was that we would go back and look at the regulations a little bit, and I do want to do that. One of the things I struggled with this application is there are quite a few landscape businesses around, and many of those operate out of a home. Most of those have a fairly big lot. In Jacob's lots, relatively small compared to the other landscaping businesses that are doing home-based work. But Jacob's lot, and again, I'm not exactly sure how we got there, is in the industrial zone. And so, if we looked at our regulations in section 412, actually it's 412A, I think 412 is the bed and breakfast thing. But it says for in the industrial zone, larger scale business where the majority of work activity takes place off-site, but accounting vehicles and equipment is stored at the dwelling. That certainly sounded like exactly what the applicant has. And so I thought, as much as I wish he had a little bit bigger lot, that the equipment was a little bit less visible from the road, being that it's an industrial lot, that was consistent with what our regulations allow there. So, any other questions or comments at all on the application before we vote on it?
I know that the proposed salt shed is, what did you say, Jacob, 250 or 300 feet from your well?
Yes, it is on the complete opposite side of the property line. So
How close is it though to your neighbor's well?
to be 100% honest, I'm not sure. I want to say it's a minimum of 150 feet because they're quite a ways through the woods down the road.
So we might want to check on that, Jed, because I was just doing some quick poking around online, and the state of Connecticut has some, they're older. I mean, they're January 25th of 2000, but they have road salt storage guidelines. And one of them is, they want it to be X amount of distance from a flood area and then no closer than 250 feet to a potable well. So just things to consider, looking out for the current property owner and or future property owners.
Okay, nope, that's a great point, Kevin. And I am thinking about with what you saw there, Kevin, what kind of precautions was it taking? Was it just keep it more than that distance?
Yeah, they want it to be further than 250 feet from a potable well. They want it to be outside of a 100-year flood area. They want to be non-adjacent to water bodies, which are supplying public water reservoirs. And then they noted that, the facility should divert stormwater with berms or swales or drains to prevent runoff from entering the salt. So basically the slab can't be poured flat or dead even with the subsoil. There can't be any risk that runoff is going to come into the salt shed and then overflow and then just carry the saline out into the environment. And they're, obviously suggesting that it needs to be covered with a waterproof barrier.
So Kevin, is that a regulation or is that like a best management practice?
No, it was just a quick hit that I found that's on the, .ct.gov. It was like a .ct.gov website, and it's just titled road salt storage.
Okay, So I think, in one, I really appreciate you checking into that, Kevin, we were concerned, we're especially concerned about the neighbors well, and any salt there. I think there's maybe two ways that we can proceed, and I'm thinking out loud at this point. One is we can change the condition of approval to say that it needs to meet those requirements. And as long as we're 250 feet from the neighbor's well, then all is good. The other thing is I could withdraw the motion and we can do a little more research between now and the next meeting. And we can actually vote on the application at that point. And I guess probably the cleanest is to withdraw the motion and just figure out, what the information is. And I guess, Jim, if we figure out the worst case scenario is he can't store salt there. And that would be, his choice. I don't know where that would go. I hope that wouldn't be the case, but the salt was a concern. And
Jacob, do you know where the well is on your neighbor's property?
yeah, he said he didn't.
I'm not 100% sure. I've never personally looked over there. If I had to guess, I want to say it's on the closer to Route 6 side of her home, which would be well over 250 feet. I cannot be certain, just because on the left side of her home, which is abutting my property line, there's probably at least 100-foot minimum of woods between us. And that's on a hillside. So I don't know if they dug the well there. I'm not 100% sure. I know she used to be on the spring that was fed from up on the hill. But I know she's no longer on that. So I'm assuming there's some sort of well. I just am not certain on where it is. But if any, also too, if any, I mean, not that it would happen, but let's say there was some sort of runoff. There's a pretty large hill to be able to get to her location. The runoff would go behind the salt shed and then down basically an embankment almost. It would be very limited, I would say, to be able to reach where her well would be, just because of the severe slope on the properties that we have down to the rail trail.
Because of the topography, yeah.
Just my thoughts there. I'm obviously no engineer or anything, but the runoff, I think if there was to be any, would be much more downhill from where her well would be. And it's definitely not down by the rail trail. I know that. So just a thought process there as far as something traveling uphill to where her well would possibly be, I don't think would even be a possibility. But again, I don't know where the well was done on the property there.
What about the neighbors across the street? Are they uphill from you?
They are uphill, yes, from
Okay.
where it would run, yes. So the only place would have any sort of runoff at all would be down the backside of my property, and
Towards
then
the rail trail.
eventually down towards the rail trail, which there's a pretty big gully between the rail trail and my property, which would also be an uphill battle to get to the rail trail.
Mhm.
Yeah, the topo slopes all back behind the house, and then it basically slopes straight back until you hit Route 6. And then
Basically,
eventually there's a swale that leads into, I guess it's Cheney Brook that's down there. But that's a ways off to the west.
Well, at this point,
So again, I just want to point that, I'm not saying that it's a regulation or a law, but based on what I read, it's a suggestion.
Yeah, those are they're saying that it's best management practices
Right.
kind of thing. So it's not, they're not saying it's a regulation, Jed. So
No, I understand, but again, we have the opportunity to apply conditions of approval.
mhm.
And we did have a concern about, salt contamination into the groundwater, which is a big issue, lots of places now. And so I'm probably going to do it wrong, but at this point, I would like to withdraw my motion so that we can do a little more investigating of what, Kevin was discussing with us before we vote on it and lose the opportunity to make an informed decision one way or the other.
Jed, before you do that, and in the original motion, it was to approve with the conditions.
Yep,
And the condition for salt containment would still hold. I would suggest we vote on the application so he could be in compliance doing his business there. And then he can't store salt there until the commission is satisfied with whatever the plan is.
that's a good option too. So
Yeah, I think that's a good option, Steve.
okay, I
Agree with
withdraw
Steve.
my withdrawal and let the motion stand. And I'm sure we goofed up the process there a little bit, but that is what we have. We have the motion to approve the application with 3 conditions of approval. One is the modification of the apron extension to be in accordance with town ordinance. 2 would be no salt storage unless it complies with the Connecticut best management practices for salt storage areas. And number 3 is no on-street parking. Any other discussion?
The condition on the salt, can we add that the concrete apron?
We can. So I thought that would have been in the best management practices, but I don't know. And
I don't know.
I did like the idea of the concrete apron. So
Mhm.
the second condition of approval would be salt storage consistent with best management practices of the state of Connecticut and a concrete floor under the storage area.
Yeah, would you be open to just simply deferring the salt storage until such time as it comes back to the commission with some detail? To give you the flexibility to apply the best management practices and any other detail that comes up as a result of
Yeah.
looking into.
Yep, and in fact, the applicant doesn't really need to attend, the next meeting or anything else. He has to get with you and go through that. I would like as a commission to, get a brief on what we've concluded. The answer is on that because it's a good issue.
Absolutely.
And one thing to note, Jake, you might just want to have some estimates when you get back together with Jim for tonnage that you plan on storing on site.
Okay. Well, I can tell you initially it's the salt shed does not hold more than 23 tons.
Okay.
That is the maximum that salt storage shed will be holding at any given point in time.
Okay.
So Jim, does that way ahead make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. And the commission, well, I guess we'll vote and we'll find out whether the commission thinks that is good, but I do think that's the smart thing to do, and that does allow the applicant to do everything else he's been doing. We just need to hopefully you have several months before we have to come through the issue with the salt there. So that in mind, I will call for a vote on the application. And I'll start with Steve,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Leanne, didn't
Aye.
hear you, Leanne. Oh, okay, that was, I think I just heard you say aye when I was talking. Kevin,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. The motion passes 5-0-0. So thank you all the commission members for the good questions there, and thank you, Jake, for submitting the application, and I hope your business continues to grow so that even if we do figure out how to store the salt, it's only there for a short-term basis.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item up is the November general elections for the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I think there's 5 of us that have our terms expiring at this November. They originally were going to expire at the end of June. Jake, did you have any questions before you go on your way? For us, I see your smiling face there, and I know you're not going to be interested in any of this other stuff we're talking about.
No, other than I think I'll just talk with you, Jim, about the driveway apron and starting a permit process for that, if that's through you. So I can get that going to make sure that's taken care of first.
Well, it's through the building office, but yeah, you can check with me, sure.
Okay, that's all.
All right.
Okay, yep. So all the terms were extended from June to November when we shifted our town elections from May to November. But the people that I see having their term expiring is Ann Cremay. My term is coming up, Scott Person, Ann Blanchard, and Kevin Arneson. And so I am going to run for re-election, and I hope each of the other ones of you do as well. If you choose not to, I'd appreciate you let me know so I can figure out how to go forward. It's been very nice having a full commission with the flexibility that a number of alternates bring to bear there. And I think, the alternates are all doing a great job. The only thing that's keeping you from being on the commission is we got a full house there, but I want to keep all of you. So that's any questions on what you need to do there? I know the reason that we're all meeting Zoom tonight is the Republicans are caucusing in the community center room right now, and due to a scheduling conflict on that, I looked at the town's website calendar and I said we were the only thing on it. I didn't worry about it, and obviously that wasn't the best answer. So please run again, and that's that. Next item up is land use training requirements. That's probably a hard issue to bring up right after I'm asking you all to run for re-election, because there's a given amount of work there. I show several folks need to get the training done. I won't go through and name the names tonight unless somebody asks me whether or not I've got a record of their completion. But I sent out a link to the Yukon Clear land use website. And it even says on that now, they weren't sure back at the time, but there's 3 1.5 hour sessions, and they all look pretty good. I watched the affordable housing presentation that was by Mark Brantz, and I thought that was good. I looked at the titles. I haven't watched the other two yet because I attended the Connecticut Bar Association training, which I also thought was very good. But looking at the information there, I think that it's very doable. When I look for ways to try to make getting the training done more palatable, I would offer up that we've got 5 months left to the end of the year. If the folks that need to do the training were to watch, 1 or 2 in place of attending a meeting, that might be as much time compensation that I can give you. I don't know what happens at the end of the year if you haven't done the training. I know I'm required to report to the Board of Selectmen that we've done it. And I don't know what, if anything, they have to do with that information, on the Public Act 21-29 that came out. It just says commissions must report compliance annually to the legislative body or Board of Selectmen in town meeting towns. So we're that's Board of Selectmen for us. And I will report our compliance as best as I know. If you watch the videos, I don't think there's any way for you to get written diplomas or anything like that. So I'm just looking for you to tell me that you watched the 3, and that would be that.
So Jed, that would satisfy the requirement if we watch the 3 videos?
It would. And so
Okay.
if you look through on there, I don't know who wrote up the website, but he says it should meet the requirements. And is the letter I sent out everybody had to get 4 hours of training. So you watch the 3 videos, and that's about 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
You get to the point where there's questions at the end of the presentation. I don't care whether you watch that or not, but you watch those 3. It's suggested in that link that would meet the training requirements.
Very good.
And I think it will. And I think it truly is worth your time to watch those. That is.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that makes it a lot easier for us, when we're
Yep.
time challenged. So I appreciate that.
Well, I know everybody's busy, and I hate to throw more requirements on there, especially when we're doing a good job of keeping the commission full. I'm also on the Inland Wetlands Commission, and we struggle every month just to get a quorum, and I don't want you guys going over to Inland Wetlands either. So you stay right here. But that's the pitch on that. I haven't heard anything lately about the sexual harassment training. I'm more concerned about getting through the land use training. I think that's more beneficial, although I do think that it's probably important for the town that we all are aware of what would constitute sexual harassment and that kind of thing. I did participate in that. I don't consider myself an expert on that, but I didn't learn as much by watching that program as I did by attending the land use training. So we'll try to get compliant there first, and I'll see how much we hear about the sexual harassment stuff. We got to the end of the year to get that done, but I would ask for your help on getting us in good shape on that. Any other questions or comments on the training things? Here we go. Next, that completes new business. We're going to go to old business. And Jim, you're up on the gravel pit operation.
Okay. Gravel pit operation there's been very little activity. I did indicate at the last meeting, I would attempt to facilitate a meeting with Genovese's, the applicant's engineer, Chris Bell, and town engineer, Joe Dillon. And I did, and that was unsuccessful. The applicant, Bill Genovese, indicated he thought everything was fine. He didn't want to engage his engineer anymore. He shared numerous opinions with me, but he did agree to meet me on the site. And I'm hoping to meet with him this week. If I get nowhere, I'm basically, with that meeting, I am going to be in contact with Grant, see what our next move is, as far as pulling a bond, getting the work done. I mean, as you probably know, there's a couple of issues. One is primarily, there's my opinion anyway, the site is not stabilized. Not stabilized because there's very little seed, little grass, little vegetation on the property. There's very little vegetation because there's very little topsoil. Yeah, whatever reason, I think it got blended in with the material on site. And the second is the runoff. Direction of the runoff is not compliant with the approved plan of April of 2020. There is correspondence from Chris Bell on the website, which is somewhat misleading. It refers to an approved plan that was not approved. And that's about all I have. I'm hoping to meet with Genovese in the next few days.
Is the bond still good, Jim?
Yes, I did have a conversation with the insurance company that provided the bond. And they gave me an updated copy and said that as bondholder, or whatever the term was, that we would be notified if it's canceled.
What would be where's the red line on this, Jim? How far does this go before we call the bond? I mean, since the beginning, they haven't done what they were supposed to right from the beginning,
Well-
and now it's,
I think when I meet with Genovese, either he's going to take some action to correct the issues, or he's not. And at that point, that I will defer to Mark Branson's recommendation.
so are we gonna give him a set amount of time to finalize this, or we're gonna call it bond? Or does the board have to do that, or you do that, or who does that?
I believe it's my call. Right now, I'm told too that, nothing's gonna grow right now. At this point in time, so if it takes a month or two, I'm okay with that. I realized it's taking a lot longer than that, and I realize where it is, so to answer your question, I don't think I'm gonna give him much, I don't intend to give him much longer. I want to see him walk the site and him feel how that sand, he wants to argue about various things. The bottom line is, he's not in compliance with the plan. He wants to come back some modification of how to stabilize that. He has every right to, as far as I'm concerned. But he has not indicated that he's willing to do that. So it's not like I'm working with him. I'm meeting with him to fill it out in person. Did I answer your question?
Jim, what is it?
I think that we should have given him a time schedule to start with, and And I'm just wondering if we're being negligent by not giving him a time schedule right now. We're at this meeting and we're talking about what's going on. I mean, Jed, do you have an opinion about that?
Well, I do. I was trying to, so, as we were talking here, the big concern was when Jim said that Bill Genevieve's comment was, it's fine. Well, it's not fine, and we have been going on forever. But given that you probably can't get anything done now, we need to have, we would need to have him do something, and there's smarter guys than me to pick the date, but it's got to be done sometime in August, because if he doesn't do it, we need to have time to get it topsoiled and seeded and germinated this fall.
Right, so how about a date of the end of August?
If we think we can get somebody out there, and we probably got a landscaper that would be willing to help us out, but or two. But yeah, as long as we're convinced that we can get it done, I would think that you want to have grass planted by mid-September.
Yep.
So if we go to the end of August, I was thinking maybe mid-August. That gives us a month to get done if he doesn't do it.
Yeah. And, but I'd like to hear from the rest of the commission, see what their opinion is too.
I mean, you absolutely need a timeline to incentivize the work to get done. If you don't put anything out there, then it's just gonna keep.
Mhm.
It's just
But,
gonna
and
keep
it's not
roll-
like
just
we
gonna
haven't
keep
had a
rolling out.
timeline, his
Right.
timeline was it had to be done, the
end of
most
May.
recent one was the end of May.
But there hasn't been any true consequence.
That
for
is
exceeding the timeline.
absolutely correct. And it's certainly clear at this point, and I am convinced that we're gonna have to proceed legally. So we'll know soon if we need to invite Mark Branch to the next meeting where we head down that path. But I think Jim's assessment of the situation out there is right on. And I think that Genevieve's is frustrated that Chris Bell didn't do a better job of managing this thing for him if he was supposed to be doing that. We know how frustrated we are with Chris Bell. So imagine what Genevieve's is coming through at this point when we tell him all that he paid Chris to do was for nothing.
I mean, so I'll say that I agree with Scott that I think give him till the end of August. And then that gives the town time to come in and take action in September to get things straightened out and stabilized for the winter season.
But Jed suggested Kevin to have it at mid-August, and we need time to probably find a contractor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long the town bid process takes to settle on a contractor.
I mean, it could take a month just to get the bond money once we decide to go that route. I don't know how long that takes, but
Oh, yeah, that could happen
Yeah.
also.
So yeah, maybe reel it into mid-August.
I'm almost thinking we ought to just go the bond route now that we've kicked that around and we look at, I don't know if there's harm in putting grass seed down now. I've seen people, put seed down in November and it didn't germinate until the following spring and it came up okay. I guess it can sit there in doing
The
that.
thing is that you need to put the topsoil, he probably needs hundreds and hundreds of yards of topsoil over there. That has to be spread, and then if we had the amount of rain we had lately, it would have germinated.
I was gonna say it would germinate in days because the soil temperature would be so high and then the
Right.
Yeah.
moisture would all be there.
Has anyone checked to see if we're having any erosion from all the rain that we've gotten, since there's no growth there?
Very
I-
limited amount of erosion.
I'm sure the
Okay,
water
well,
hits
that's
the
good.
ground, it goes right out through the site. it's so, the sand, it drains so well
Yeah.
over there. I mean, I don't think it holds any water.
Yeah, there is a little erosion on the hill adjacent to the Hall Road,
Mhm.
but there's a fair amount of property between the adjacent property owner there.
So when,
And I don't think it's traveling far.
so Jim, when was your meeting gonna be with Bell and Genovese?
I'm not meeting with Bell. Genovese made it clear that he was not going to engage Bell in any further meetings. Spoke to him last Thursday, spoke to Bill Genovese Thursday, and he indicated that his mother-in-law had died and he was trying to, and he couldn't do it last week, but that he would make an effort to do it this week. And so I will give him a call tomorrow, or I'll shoot him an email. You know, as far as setting a time frame, I always wanted to hear what he said. Whether if he said, "I'm not going to do anything," then you know that's information that I would use to move forward. Whereas if he agrees that something needs to be done, you know, I'd like to evaluate that. If he just says no, then why should I give him any time?
I agree with that. And I think that he is likely to say that.
Yeah.
But
Does, yeah. Go ahead, Leanne.
Speaking of the runoff, Chris Bell submitted a plan in May that showed water flowing to the right. I think he calls it the south, or to the right onto Catherine Hutchinson's property, which was supposed to be remedied as part of this all along. And I believe he said that this agrees with the plan that we approved in August of 2022, but it really doesn't. And I think Jed brought up the fact last month that Chris talked about there being 15% runoff. It's in the minutes language, in the minutes somewhere, than there was before. But then there was some discussion, I think, again, I think Jed was the one who brought it up about if there wasn't supposed to be any runoff, then why is there 15% less than nothing? If you see what I mean. So that's hopefully what Jim's going to be able to discuss with Mr. Genovese.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where Chris is coming from. He's making an argument that there's less runoff, and that may or may not be true, but it's kind of a moot point. There's an approved plan in place. He's not in compliance with it. That's that. And you're
Is
right.
it an improved
He
plan
did-
or an
he did-
approved plan?
I'm saying that
There's an
the
approved
as-built,
plan that he's not in a compliance with.
the as-built, the existing water flow is not in compliance with the approved plan. When I say the approved plan, I'm talking about the plan that was approved by the commission, not the plan that was submitted with Chris Bell's letter of May, something or other, that he referenced as an approved plan. Wasn't. It's kind of a
Yeah, I
non-issue
think-
in my mind.
I think we may be saying the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a moot point, what the runoff is. If there's runoff and it's not in compliance with the approved plan, the actual the percentage, or, you know, how it compares with pre-development runoff is kind of not the point here.
Okay.
And having said all that, I did, go out to look at the property on Sunday after we had the good rain, and it was certainly, for the most part, soaking into the ground. I did not see a lot of evidence of runoff on either side. But the fact remains that it is not graded in accordance with the approved plan. And every plan that was discussed with us talked about 2 to 4 inches of topsoil and seeded with grass seed. And that sort of thing. So there definitely is not a lot of topsoil out there.
It's only topsoil in one small area, isn't there?
There's sometimes soil towards the front of the property, but it's very low quality. It was mixed in with material that was on site. Not loam, you know.
I saw very little organics, Jim.
Yeah, I agree. I'm
Yep.
not gonna disagree with that, yeah. I mean, you can basically, if you walk the site, and hear what it's, you know, the sound tells you what it is. Towards the rear of the site, it's like walking on a beach, the sound.
So I guess the bottom line is at our next meeting, Jim's either here so convinced that Bill Genovese is going to fix it that we let him have a chance. But the more likely approach is we'll have Mark Brandt here and be discussing, and we don't have to wait till then to have that discussion. But at a minimum, if we haven't started that discussion, before the next meeting, we will at that meeting.
I would say, Jed, that setting a time schedule tonight, that you want the place seated by the beginning of September. Right?
I'm still happy. I still think mid-August is good because it's gonna take a while, once we decide to go to get it all done right.
A year ago, we were saying we should have put a time schedule on them.
Yep. Well, and there's always, reluctance, once we start legal proceedings, that'll be a fairly consuming event. So I know Jim's been, trying to work hard to not do that. And we all know that Chris Bell's been it's been a little frustrating trying to work with him to get this done, but I think we're pretty close to that red line you were asking for, Scott.
And so Jim is supposed to tell Genovese tomorrow, whenever he sees him, that the board wants seating to be done by mid-August. That's the date.
In addition to, making the lot in compliance with the approved plan.
Right. In
Yeah.
addition to that, correct, yeah.
So we just need it to be in accordance with the approved plan, like Jim
Yeah.
said, which it currently is not. And as you say, seating done by mid-August, 15 August. Which is, I don't know that he can get there. That 15 August is gonna come up fast. So I guess hear what you hear, Jim, and if you're not dazzled, we need to start heading down that path.
Yeah, right away.
Yep, because 15 August will be here before you know it. He'd have to start spreading topsoil in there next week.
Yeah, you would.
Any other commission members have any comments here? Well, I see my screen has gone from yellow to green now. I don't know if I've got camera failure imminent here or what, but it doesn't look like that in my room. Yeah. Catherine Hutchinson, we promised you some time to make comments on this item.
I agree with Mr. Holloway. Yeah, I'm sorry, Halsey, that the plan that was submitted as built is not in conformance with the plan that was approved under the August 15th, 2022 approval of plan of that map. Just for the commission's explanation of this, the as-built plan that he submitted in May has a new added to the map, what he calls the high point. Everything to the right of the high point, that is toward the, what he calls the right-hand side, the southeastern part, i.e. my land. All of the water from that high point is directed toward my land, in complete contradiction to what the commission has consistently indicated shouldn't happen, and more important, is not in conformance with the map that was the plan that was approved.
Okay, yep, understand.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure,
So
based on
I'm
just looking at it out there, that it's actually graded in accordance with that as-built. I didn't see, I'm not sure I see a high point where he's got it there.
Yeah.
I was out looking for it, but that's why we've got surveyors and engineers to go out and check that out. But I certainly, we all, I think, agree that what he submitted as an as-built was not what he briefed us on, and we agreed to.
I agree that it has to be in accordance with the plan that was approved.
Yep, you bet.
I can see where this is going, Jed. Genovese is gonna get out there. You're gonna tell him that you want this thing regraded, which just has to be. He's gonna have to get a new surveyor.
Well, it's very
Yeah.
expensive. Yep,
He's gonna have to get a new surveyor. He's gonna have to get a new dozer in there. Doesn't
Yep.
sound like-
I'm sure he is not wanting to pay that bill. But he doesn't want to lose his bond either. So we'll see where we go. But you know, we have to get that properly graded and seeded this fall. Any other discussion on that? Okay. Ooh, I thought we were close to the end. Item 7, approval of minutes. Let's start. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from May 22nd.
I'll second that.
Thank you. That was Kevin.
That was Scott.
Scott, okay. Any comments on the May 22nd meeting minutes? And I had none. So hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Steve,
Aye.
Kevin,
Abstain.
Scott,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. The minutes are approved 5-0-0. Make a motion to approve the public hearing and special meeting minutes from Wednesday, June 7th.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Steve. Any comments on those minutes? And normally I would vote on the special meeting separately from the public hearing. But since it says the special meeting was canceled that night, I figured we could wrap it all into one. So any comments on the 7 June minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Steve,
Aye.
Kevin,
Abstain.
Scott?
Aye.
Leanne?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The minutes are approved. 4-0-1 with Kevin abstaining. Next up were the public hearing minutes from June 20th. Can I make a motion to approve the minutes from the public hearing on June 20th?
Second that.
Thank you, Scott. Any comments on those minutes?
Jed, I wasn't there, but you've got 6 members listed. It's not clear who was seated.
That is because those were the members present at the public hearing and we didn't seat anybody at that point.
Okay, thank you.
The only comments I had are down at the bottom of page 1. There's a question mark after Errol. I do think that you have his name spelled correctly, if that's why the question mark was there, Marina.
Yes.
And then the page numbering, it says page 1 of 4, where I think it should have been 1 of 3, and page 2, 2 of 3, and page 3, 3 of 3, because there is no page 4 there.
Okay, I'll fix those.
Any other comments on the public hearing minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Steve,
I'll abstain.
okay? Kevin,
Abstain.
Scott,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. The motion passes 3-0-2 with Steve and Kevin abstaining. Last up is the special meeting minutes immediately following the close of the public hearing. And I make a motion to approve the special meeting minutes.
Second.
Thank you, Scott. My only comments on that were there was some, in the middle of the one page, it talks about page 3 of 4. I don't know if that was because you split it out from the preceding one, but I think there's only a 1 of 1 page.
Okay, I'll take a look.
And then in the last paragraph under new business there, you talk about with the following conditions, see attached listing.
Mhm.
And I did not see anything attached there. I do see the motion with the conditions of approval listed, they're in the file. But and you can either attach it or you can say, see conditions of approval in the application file.
Yeah, I think I sent them to Kate to post with the minutes because I can't combine them with the Adobe that I have, so.
Okay,
maybe get
then would
attached.
yeah, if you or Jim could follow up with Kate to make sure that we get the conditions posted there, that would make that correct. So the only change is to remove the line about page 3 of 4 in the center and put page 1 of 1 on the bottom. Any other comments on those meeting minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Steve,
Abstain.
Kevin,
Abstain.
Scott?
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion passes 302 with Steve and Kevin abstaining. Lost my agenda.
Correspondence.
There we go. Okay. Correspondence, Jim, item 8.
Done.
Administrative reports, zoning agent.
Ongoing violation, 664 Route 6, unresolved, working with town attorney on both occupancy of a trailer behind the residence as well as ongoing blight violation. Sent out a letter today, 85 Lake Road, work done without a permit. Hopefully that will be resolved. We've got a few more, 157 Wales Road and monitoring along with some other folks for host of violations. I have a few others that I'd like to schedule inspections. So that's all I have.
Okay. And I've got nothing to report from the Inland Wetlands Watercourse Commission. Item 11, next regularly scheduled meeting is really August 15th instead of August 22nd. They think the first day of the month was a Tuesday, so we thought we were going to meet on the 21st. We shifted to the third Tuesday. That backs it up a week to August 15th. And that's consistent with all the calendars that I can find. So we're on all the right calendars to have that meeting then. And that will be back, the hybrid in the community room. Next item up, 12 miscellaneous. Anybody have any miscellaneous topics to discuss? And I do have one myself, but we'll let other folks go first.
Not really a miscellaneous topic yet, but I did post in the chat for everyone's reference the article that I was looking at by the Connecticut DEP.
Okay,
So just you can grab the link and look it over for next meeting.
excellent. And okay,
The
very
original one was
good.
from 2000. That one is a more recent one that was cited by UConn.
And I hope that link doesn't go away. Any chance you could email that to everybody? I don't know, once we sign off tonight, if we can get back to getting into the link or not.
Yeah, I can just send it
Just-
back to the zoning agenda.
I
that gets
appreciate
sent
it.
out to
Thank you.
everyone.
Any other miscellaneous? And I just wanted to share with the commission on what I thought was a very positive note. I met this morning with John Grzowski, our town planner, and Eric, and we spent the morning together talking about getting him started. I expect him to show up at our next planning and zoning meeting, and he will be in attendance at hopefully all meetings going forward from there. We talked about a couple of things. There's a couple of grants that he can start working on. His big project is obviously the plan of conservation and development, but he'll be able to do some more of that. And Marina, if you can allow me to share my screen, I just wanted to see if I can get the schedule that we initially looked at.
Okay, let me know if you can share.
Yep, I think I can. And so this, I think most of you, many of you here tonight were at the interview session where we listened to the different people who are making their proposal, and this is the one from Taichi, which John represents. And the key thing here was, it's about a 15-month plan. And so I didn't want to get started on it until at least after July, because I want to make sure that we don't finish it up till 2025, so that we get our full 10 years out of the old one and a full 10 years out of the new one. But there are some things that he can do that, make a positive impact on the town by getting grants and that sort of thing that, hopefully next budget season, make his working with us for us a positive story, good news story. But what I'm working on, and we start out, the first couple months, baseline review of existing plans, data update and assessment. Right down here is where it talks about staff advisory committee meeting. And I initially thought that with the exception of a couple of people, that was going to be the Planning and Zoning Commission. And it still can be, and that would be great. I don't know that how much involvement that's going to take as we work our way through there. My concern is a little bit on overloading the planning and zoning folks. I've got you working on trying to get some training done by the end of the year and that sort of thing. And so next time, John's going to walk us through the process. I expect that to take place at the next meeting. And I'm wanting to get other commissions the opportunity to participate in the discussion about the community service. What are the questions we're going to ask and that sort of thing. And I was thinking, certainly the Conservation Commission wants to participate in that. The Economic Development Commission wants to participate in that. But there might be others that I'm not aware of. And so my question is, what do the Planning and Zoning Commission members feel about signing up for this many extra meetings? Some of those can be done at our regular planning and zoning meeting, but some of them might have to be done outside of that. Because there's a lot to do there on top of what we normally have as not the shortest of meetings there. So is that too big a ask for the Planning and Zoning Commission? I know I will make my very best attempt to attend every one of those advisory committee meetings. I expect to be the guy that's kind of leading the charge here. But I'm looking for a little input on other folks. Is that doable? Do you want to hear what he has to say a month from now before we make that decision? Because we had these advisory committee meetings, that we had public presentations, and I'm not sure who public would be the public, but the different commission members would all be part of this as much as they can take. So anyhow, as I started working with John on how do we get started on this, I soon recognized that the first question was, who is this advisory committee? And John said, well, it could be whoever you want it to be. And I said, great. So I'll go out, try to put out some feelers, but I need, he said, sometimes it's a subset of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Sometimes it's the whole Planning and Zoning Commission, and they're kind of leading the charge there. So that's where I'm at. I'm looking for any feedback on, nope, I can't do that. My schedule just won't let me. Or yeah, I can probably do that. And I might miss one or two, but I'll do my best to attend everything that comes down the pipe. And we don't need to get that tonight. Just think about that a little bit, but it's that is going to be a significant project that's coming up soon. I do expect that we will spread it out a little bit. I told him today that I didn't care. I would be happy with it finishing up the end of June. That gives us 6 months of fudge time in case, something we get behind on. Don't think we will. If we can get it done in 15 months, I don't want it to be one of those cases where the job expands to fill up the time allowed. We don't need that, but I do think for us getting started, figuring out what do we want to ask in the community service survey and that kind of thing. How do we want to do the survey? A lot of it can be done electronically. Do we want to pay the postage cost to do it? There's a lot of stuff that we will have to go through. And I'll be working with John on that so that we're ready for the next meeting. But that's the schedule that he presented to us back when he thought he was just applying to do the POCD. We shifted gears. I think everybody's aware that, we brought him on as a town planner with this being his primary responsibility. And he'll get that done. But we did spend a lot of time talking about some things that he needs to do to get off on the right foot. And then we spent a couple hours driving around town. We went over, looked at the ball fields, looked at where we want to put some pickleball courts, playscape. We looked at the old firehouse, the garage putting in there, talked about the continuity project on Route 316 and what he can do to help us there. Just drove all around the town, showing the different things there. I thought that was a very positive morning and going to be good news for the town. Any
Very good.
questions on that? Okay. Stop sharing. There we go. Any other miscellaneous topics before we call it a night? I think I've certainly talked enough then, and I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second,
Thank you, Steve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion passes 5-0-0. Thank you very much for attending tonight. Thank you for the involvement, the engagement, bringing up good topics, and just being active members. It certainly helps me out, and I really appreciate that. While it, you would seem like you're throwing a wrench in the works that kept us from heading on down the road smoothly with the home-based business, Kevin. I thought your quick research was right on, and that was great. And I appreciate when all you guys do that. I like the active involvement of the whole commission. It works to the benefit of everybody. So having said that, we're adjourned. Good night all, and we'll see you on August 15th.
Night.
thanks, Jim.
Thanks,
Good
Jen.
night.
Have a nice night.